We're moving on to another film which I think might be a little bit contentious again, and that is The Killer. Andy, could you introduce this to us?
Yeah, sure. David Fincher's new film, available to watch on Netflix. We follow a highly stylized, highly paid killer whose hit goes wrong, and there are consequences because of that. Here's a clip.
This is what it takes. My process is purely logistical. If I'm effective, it's because of one simple fact. I don't give a
Right. So, Fassbender again. It's been a while since he's made a film as well, and David Fincher film. Surely it's a bang-on success. Andy.
I was absolutely bored stiff through this. We heard the narration there over that trailer. That narration runs right throughout the film. Put some life into it. Put some energy into it. Stop sending me to sleep. I've got enough tablets that make me do that anyway. It was about a hit. It's about a hit that goes wrong, and the consequences thereof. And I think to say much else would be spoilers. Tilda Swinton's in this for all of about 5 minutes. Blinking you miss her. I just felt that it was
telling the blue bear joke for like three of them.
Telling the blue bear joke, which has been told elsewhere. I just thought it was boring, dull, monotonous. The narration alone, as I say, was enough to put me to sleep. Once you get past that action scene at the beginning where the hit has gone wrong, there's not a lot else to keep you interested. And I was surprised for a David Fincher. I'm a fan of David Fincher. I mean, I like his movies, except for this one. I really felt this was boring, monotonous. Fassbender's okay, but this wasn't for me. I just lost interest after the first 10, 15 minutes and struggled to stay interested for the rest of it, to be honest.
Emma, I think you saw this one at London Film Festival, if I remember right, and I cacked up my schedule and went to see something else when I should have seen that. But yeah, what did you think?
Almost the incomplete opposite to Andy. There's this narration that goes all through the film that I really loved, and it really helps the pace of the film.
Boring beyond belief.
I did have to refresh my memory because I didn't rewatch it since the film festival. But
who is going to rewatch this, having seen it once?
Emma.
I very much felt like I was watching a graphic novel, which I really enjoyed. I thought the voiceover, the narration that he was doing, was a really good contrast to his character on screen, because he is so verbose when he's talking, and in contrast, he's a very methodical, quiet sort of man on screen. So I thought that worked really well, and it does help in that you see him at the start, as you saw in the trailer, that he's very precise. Little movement, little action, does plod along, but you do see that crack as you get further into the film, as he starts to go from professional to vengeance, for want of a better word, and I just really thought that worked. The one thing that I really had against the film was the product placement, which was so obvious. Just
not obvious to me. I'm struggling to think.
Think Roger Moore James Bond films. I mean, the placement in those films was terrible. Sorry, Emma.
It wasn't an advert for Pirate Artist Typist King, was it, that I missed? Yeah.
Oh, that would have been acceptable.
Yeah, okay.
But
okay.
So I did enjoy myself watching this.
Okay. Scott, did you see this one as well?
I didn't get a chance to get around to this one, unfortunately.
Okay.
Or maybe fortunately, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the last film, Anatomy of a Fall, being Hitchcockian. I thought the opening was really interesting, like a take on Rear Window, to be honest. Him perched up above a Paris square, looking at all the goings on, as it were, in the apartments opposite, which I thought was nice. And I thought it was a really well-made film in terms of the movie-making activity on show, as you would expect from David Fincher film. But I thought the story was just overly simplistic and nothing that we haven't seen many, many times before. At the end of the day, it's kind of just a revenge movie, isn't it? Just on rinse and repeat in different locations. And we see those trotted out by the likes of Netflix and Amazon in low budget B-movie things all the time. And this one was much the same. Also, that voiceover, I'm afraid I'm with Andy on this one. One thing I absolutely loathe in films in general is voiceovers. It's a tell, don't show approach. This wasn't really tell, don't show. This was kind of the internal monologue going on in the hitman's head. And some of what he was saying was interesting, but the way in which he said it in this low monotone voice, it was something like you hear on those sleep things that you put on before you go to sleep. So I was a bit stuck in terms of a score. I ended up going with a 7 for this one because I think it is a well-made film. Would I want to watch it again? No, not particularly. Emma?
So I had to check because I have written the review that I haven't published. I was overly generous. Like in my review, I've put a 9, but I think it's an 8 from me.
8. Okay. Andy?
Just very quickly on the voiceover thing. Harrison Ford hated the voiceover on the original Blade Runner.
Yes.
It's a very different film when you see the subsequent Blade Runners without the voiceover. I just wonder what this would have been like without the voiceover, telling us what he's doing. I can see what you're doing. Where he's going. I can see where you're going.
Yeah.
You know.
Fassbender is such a good actor. You can see it all in his face anyway, can't you?
Exactly. And the Blade Runner was, I think, without the narration, of the better films. I gave this a 6.
Right. So that's a 7, 8, 15, 21 divided by 3 is a 7 out of 10. So again, that's just crept over the line to be a marginal hit for The Killer.